Evening update here at Newcastle Fans TV on transfer deadline day. We had Andrew, aka Hippie, earlier on this morning, or this afternoon rather. Depends where you are in the world. And he is all the way from Australia. But now we've completely went the other way, all the way around the other world to Atlanta. And that's an absolutely fantastic city, by the way. Hello, Jay. How are you?
I'm well, Lee. Glad to be here today on this busy, hopefully busy day, but nonetheless, the feed is open in the background here. It's transfer deadline day.
It is. We will talk about that very, very shortly. But I do want to bring up your beard, Jay, because everybody who's seen you, and I know fine well the WhatsApp will be going off. What's Jay done? Who's beard? Explain yourself. Why do you look like a Viking?
I went to Iceland over the last Christmas holiday and came back with it. I don't know. I guess I want to be a Viking. Not really. I'm not quite
I
sure.
think it actually. I think it
But
suits you.
everyone is like, you look good with a beard. And when people, if enough people tell you you look good with a beard, well, you keep it on. So there you
No, I
go.
think it suits you, mate. I like it, me. I do. I do. Do keep your comments coming in. We'll try our very best to be positive here, but I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. It has not been a great transfer window. So what we're going to do from earlier on when we were live, so this is everything from this afternoon with transfer rumours, and then I'm going to get Jay's opinion on the transfer window in general and who's to blame for the lack of signings, because let's face it, it hasn't been fantastic. So we've obviously this morning talked about the press conference, and shortly just after that press conference, Jay, because I may as well jump straight to Mark Guehi. We'll talk about him first. Glasnow's actually come out and spoke about it. I put the graphic on screen there, so he's actually said, yes, I can confirm, but it was never in doubt. Congratulations to our owners because they didn't give in. Thank you to Mark. He was always open with me. All the rumours didn't influence his performances, so that's literally coming from Crystal Palace's manager, aka saying it's not happening. So, what's your whole thoughts on Mark Guehi here? Have we spent? Because I asked Hippie this earlier on. Have we spent too long chasing one player?
You'd have to say at this point, yes. Had they done the deal, had it come through even at a high price, well, then you could say something different. But the truth is, we can only judge on what we can see from the outside. We're not on the inside. And it would appear to me that we've spent too much time and effort on this. It's possible that's not true, but it's most likely true. And additionally, imagine the roles were reversed. Someone's coming in fishing for a healthy Botman in our case. We'd be losing our minds, right? Demanding that our club tell people to go away, like earlier in the summer when certain windows were still open at the time, right? So, uh, especially if we don't bring in talent by tonight, which could happen, but as the minutes tick away, becomes less likely. So we have spent too much time. It is observable that we've spent too much time. We can't even say whether we're going to get a good deal or bad deal for 70 million, right? Which is definitely up for debate. That's out of the question now. It's off the table. And if we can't deliver, well, that's not good for us. And I don't think any of us expected a window like this. Around the world, no one thought this would happen. I never heard it on any channel or any social media space.
Do you feel the influence of Stavely Gudusi going has hindered transfers, or the fact with Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell? So I'll call it a debacle because it was. Has
I,
that
I
influenced
think
anything?
I think it would influence it both in positive and negative ways, right? There are clearly we were selling our young talent early in the summer. That's not good, right? Measurably, that's not how this should be working, but it's what we had to do. So there must have been some problems. One would think with the change that could alleviate those problems and bring on new personalities, experienced ones from Europe that can solve these problems. But then there was that passion. Remember in the clip from 2 years ago where Amanda was on there doing I believe the Gordon deal, saying
Mm.
we got to see that months later, the footage after we got to see how passionate she was. Like, stay in there. We are doing this. This is what we're making happen. So we don't get to see that in real time. I think there'd be some good and bad over that change, though it did rub me the wrong way. But this is a business, so it is what it is. Ultimately, the club needed more talent before we got rid of anybody. Now that we've got rid of some of our young players, we desperately need more talent. We're fortunate in some ways to be out of Europe because we may not need the total squad depth that we would have. But if we're going to keep escaping cup matches on penalties like that, well, maybe we'll go deep enough, and we're going to need some players. So it is at this point, with however many hours it is to go over there,
Four and a half
we're
hours.
at a net loss for a piece. And whether Amanda could have fixed it, or the new team should be fixing it. That's irrelevant. We should have players, and it looks fairly disastrous at this point. Not
Yeah,
that we can have a good year, but on a transfer window, it's a disaster.
yeah, some people are blaming Eddie Howe in the comments. I don't know if that's full. Look, I'm going to come back to that later at the end of the show. So I don't think it's fair to blame all on Eddie Howe because he's the guy who, as he says, 90% of the time he's on the training pitch. So yeah, it's not great. But let's talk about some rumours since it's happened. The Ryan Fraser one has gathered a little bit of legs. There is some speculation that Newcastle might come to an agreement and mutual terminate his contract, so that's him off the books. I don't see the sense in that because if Southampton are willing to take him on loan, that's the other option as well. That's come out this afternoon. Effectively, he leaves the club, Jane. I think for him, for Newcastle wages, we've just got to get him out, haven't we?
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, it's tight, right? So I'll take every revenue savings that doesn't matter to us one way or the other, right? You see what I'm saying? So it all, pennies make pounds and so on. Yeah.
So Ryan Fraser, we'll see. I think this is doable because he doesn't want to spend another. I mean, would he really want to spend another 10 months just because he's not even playing with the under 21s? And never's Isaac Hayden. You could also put Isaac Hayden. I feel he's probably a little bit more harshly treated. But look, we can go around in circles with these lads that need to move on. But we'll keep an eye on that later on this evening. We are going to be doing a late night show as well, where we've got Joe and Dave coming on later. But yeah, we'll move on because I know this one, and I don't get this James Trafford one. I don't explain because I can't get why we're going for another goalkeeper when we've got 5 on the books already.
The only reason I can come up with, and just bear with me here, Internet, we set a 100-year record for numbers of goalies on the team sheet last year. And maybe we're going to try to beat that again this year, right? It just doesn't. I don't understand. With all the allegations of our previous signings being the scratch your back, you scratch ours kind of situation. Over here we have an expression called inside baseball, which just refers to the fact that things move behind the scenes, and what's really happening isn't what's on the outside. And maybe this is just a kind of inside football. If you're asking me to explain this, you need somebody smarter than me because I can't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because it's alleged that, and again, we've got to take with a pinch of salt that Newcastle, the £20 million bid is still there to bring him in, and I don't get it when Dubravka doesn't look like he's moving. We all expected Dubravka to move out. He's just been called up to the Slovakian squad again. Got Vlachodimos is now in the Greek squad. You've got John Ruddy, you've got Mark Gillespie, you've got Nick Pope. Max Thompson's just had a loan out yesterday, so that's at least under 21 keeper out. I don't see the logic.
If we had done the other business, Lee, right? If we'd gotten a right wing, a center, if we'd done some other business that was productive, then perhaps this wouldn't be as weird as it is. It's still a little weird in the abstract, but it's in the absence of all that other stuff. It is. It's not infuriating, but it's not helping. Right,
I get going for a young goalkeeper to be the next after Nick Pope because Nick Pope's 31, 32. I get that, but because we've got so many, it's like we're handing out payments. Right, you can just train all week. We'll pay you. It's money going out when you're obviously on about Ryan Fraser before saving wages, and I don't get that. So that's come back out, and I'm guessing that'll be out again this evening, the James Trafford one. But recently, the past hour, this has developed with Anthony Elanga. I don't know if you've seen this, Jay.
I have not.
But Talksport and Sky have both said that Newcastle have gone in for the Forest winger, but Forest have knocked it back for around about 35 million. So initially the reports are that Newcastle went in, then again Sky come out, Keith Downey has then come back out and said that it's actually been knocked back. So I know you've got to take with a pinch of salt with rumours, but I know obviously you've got affiliation with Miggy and obviously Jacob Murphy and stuff, but is Anthony Elanga the guy that you would say, do you know what, he's better than what we've got?
Well, what we need is consistency over there. Right now, it's been I love Miggy, but I think we're moving past that, as we all know. But he was never consistent. His purplest patch was the purplest patch ever, as someone else said on the channel. And Murphy has his moments, right? But what we really need over there is consistency, Lee. right? If you look at our heat maps and our ability to use the left side of the pitch productively, Joe Linton likes to be that kind of dominant position on that left. We don't need the right to save us. We just need it to be consistently there so that teams have to play us across the width of the field. That's really what I'm looking for. And I want 85 minutes of that a match, right? Not 20 minutes of that a match. So I'm looking for, is he better? Don't know. The question was, is he better? Hard to say. I'll take consistency, and consistency in the 30 million pound window is good for us, right? Especially to put in a season for that. That's where I'm at on it.
With Elanga, I think you've mentioned consistency. I don't think he has it. I think you can be a good player on his day, but if Newcastle, again, I was talking to Hippie earlier, if you're not going to get Mark Guehi, if you're going to go, I mentioned Trevor Chalobah just as a name out there earlier this afternoon. He's not an improvement of what we've got. It's more like filling the squad. I don't want players coming in just to be the same level. You want to improve, and that's what the money's there for. And you're not improving if you're going for Elanga personally. I think it would be a good fit. I think it'll be a good squad player. But is he better than Jacob Murphy? Probably slightly, maybe. But it comes down to consistency. He's got youth on his side. I'm more than capable of believing in Eddie Howe can develop young players. I've seen it proven as the squad and that. But because you come back to it, it's so late in the day. It's how desperate are you getting?
It's important not to fumble now, Lee, right? The people who are in these positions should be making these decisions without emotion, despite us raging on the internet, right, and wagering our opinions, right? But ultimately, these decisions should not be emotion-based. They should be based on that. And if we cannot get a good solution for our play for now, which most of us felt like would be a center back, right? If we can't get that, we don't need to be placating people like myself and you out here, right? We need to be making intelligent purchases. And yes, if we don't acquire anybody that doesn't look good, where the blame goes, different conversation. It doesn't look good, but what we like worse mistake that would compound the situation that we are in now is paying too much, paying 30 for a 15 million player, right? Paying 55 for a 40 million player. That would even compound the problems because I think next June will also be tight. That's speculation. I don't have any insight to that, but we were tight this last year with the big changes. So let's not compound the error and make more, in some things they call it tilting, right? I don't think the club will tilt, but don't compound it. Don't make it worse, right? And I would expect them, with their experience, to not make that mistake, actually. Although, can you imagine if you're sitting in that seat right now watching the clock tick down, you've got a budget, to not deliver, it's not going to look good for everybody. There will be a cost for that to the club, and everyone in the club will pay that, from Eddie all the way up to Darren, right? Because everyone will, between now and January. And then think about January. There's never good deals in January, right? That's sometimes you have to spend money. Yay, we got some great players in January. You know what I'm saying? We got Trippier to start all off in January. It can happen. That's unlikely. Right? That is extremely unlikely. So can you imagine the next few months of shoulda, woulda, coulda if we don't deliver, not just deliver a player, but deliver a difference maker at value in the next 5-ish hours? Tough.
Yeah, hello everyone in the chat. We are. I can see your comments come through. You've got a bit of love there from Tony saying this guy knows what he's talking about. Get him over from the US. Tony, I've been banging on to Jay. We'll WhatsApp each other. I'm like, when are you coming? When are you coming? When are you coming?
I'll be there.
He wants to go to Scotland so he can go and see the beautiful sights of Scotland. Get himself doing to a away game. Me and you in a away game. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, nice comments about Jay. So thank you for that. But yeah, and also the clubs know that we've got money if we don't, don't spend anything today. So we'll see. That's what also could be held at ransom, but hopefully not. But another lad who's potentially heading out on loan today, which is rumoured that Harrison Ashby is close to joining QPR on loan. I expect that will probably happen now. That started off, I know Football Insider take it with a pinch of salt, but of other clubs, Football London now have reported it. So we expect Harrison Ashby's down the pecking order. He's still a young boy, but I think he needs to have a good season in the Championship, otherwise he could be heading out the door. So it's a big season for him. Do you like a silly rumour, Jay? Can I give you one?
Hit me.
Oh, right. Okay, you're going to like this one. I'll put it on screen for everybody. Football Insider claim that Newcastle are going to come in for a late bid for Matheus Nunes from Manchester City, despite the fact that Eddie Howe has already said, just literally 2 or 3 days ago that Newcastle are stacked in centre midfield.
I don't.
Worst one of the day. This one.
This is madness. By the way, this is why I hate reading about transfer rumors. I don't know how the rest of you feel about that across the world, but it just makes my blood boil. What is it on a free? Will he work for £1 a week? Right, things like this become questions, right? But our midfield is clogged. Eddie's on record on it, and frankly, I like Tonali. Right, like what he did to that last match.
I think we all like Tonali.
Oh, of course we do. I'm saying something obvious and silly there, but we're solid there. That's just, I don't know. Maybe that's agents. Allegedly agents.
It's just.
So it just is. I will look at the comment there from Baz there. Eddie's saving the cash for later. Exactly. Like whether they're setting. I thought that was you guys talked earlier today about whether he's being set up for failure. I don't assume the negative in a lot of things. It just leads you down rabbit holes, right? So you just try to assume everybody's trying to get the right thing done. But yeah, if we don't spend money right now, and we had a terribly unlucky season last year, that's why the matches are played, right? Things like that happen. It's part of the game. But another one like that, with less luck than on average, could be dire for Eddie. And I back Eddie. I like Eddie. I like his style. Is he perfect? No. But he's who I back right now, and this could have knock-ons for him, especially if we get, God forbid, somebody else hurt inconveniently, right? It could be a disaster.
Yeah, I know. It's. But then again, is there any positive to come out of it that Newcastle could spend in January if that's another thing?
We would have to, because it sends a message to our other players, right? We have players here that Eddie sells a vision. I believe that. And I believe he works with players that see his vision very well, that kind of player that's capable of doing that. But if we don't bring people in and don't show that we are committed to it, this is another part of the cost of, wouldn't call it the morale of the team, but these are people's professional futures. And we have many amazing stars in our squad right now, the likes of which we could have never dreamed of 4 years ago. We could have never conceived of the kind of players we have right now that are here for the project. But if we're not demonstrating, by we, I mean the ownership of the club and the management of the club, that we are driving forward down that, how could you possibly retain those players when they are in demand? The rumors fly with Isak and Bruno and Gordon and all that. You know why they fly? Because they're great. Those are great players that play for Newcastle, and people want them. And if this club does not show that it is willing to spend and ride the PSR line, because that is what this game is about now, and bring in the right players that drive us forward, who cares what we think? We're not on the pitch. What really matters is what those other players think, because they are on the pitch. I get pretty passionate about that right there. You have to.
I love that. Keep your passion coming. Yeah. Breaking news. I've just seen that in the comment. It is official. Harrison Ashby has joined QPR on loan. The club have just announced that 4 minutes ago. Perfect timing. Love that. So that is now official. Harrison Ashby has joined QPR on loan for the rest of the season. So good luck for him. Which leaves me actually quite nicely on to another under-21 lad, because the under-21s are playing in 10 minutes actually. And just looking at some of their starting lineup, it's apparent, and another rumour that's come out today, that Alex Murphy very much thought of, he starts tonight. That tells me he's not heading out on the club now, because it has come out early on today from the Mark Douglas, who we had on the channel just a few weeks ago, has said that Newcastle have knocked back a loan for the Irishman, and it was from a couple of championship clubs, so that's been knocked back. I believe that's now probably a true story, especially with him starting tonight. Has he got a big... Assuming we don't sign a centre-back, do you reckon he'll get a few more look-ins this season?
If you're going to knock back a loan like that for a young lad, right, that's going to spend time in the lower team minutes, then you've got a strategy, right? That's what that says, right? So it must be. And, it's a strange old season, right? A lot of strange things could happen with minutes here and there. I would hope that our first team players stay healthy and play the way we expect at the level they expect. And if that's the case, Lee, then you just have to say, well, not this year. Then he's around so they can manage him, and get what they want to out of him. But if things get strange, please not as strange as last year. Too much strange last year. Too much strange. So
Yeah, it'd be interesting. He might even start that League Cup fixture with Wimbledon potentially. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
But yes, Trevan Sanusi's in that starting lineup as well. It's interesting. So if you want to see who's in that lineup, it's available on the club socials as we speak. We're coming towards the last 5 minutes or so of the live stream. I do want to bring up a little clip because I'm going to ask Jay the same question about the transfer window. We'll be back with you in about 45 seconds or so.
A worse window than under Ashley.
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of pro. No, I wouldn't go that far, but I think it feels negative though, doesn't it? It's not like wow, we're looking forward to the season. Look who we've signed. You know what I mean? Whereas I think one summer, I think we signed a loan player under Ashley. I think another summer we only signed Vernon and Anita for like 3.5, 4 million.
But expectation-wise, under Ashley, we didn't expect much.
No,
now
I mean,
we're sort of expecting a little bit more, and it's almost there. We're just
it is. It feels a bit, but a little. Me and G have a little bit of a joke with the Nita situation, don't we? Because your wife's called Anita.
Yes.
So, yeah,
I mentioned Heracles. I was like, you mean Vernon?
Yeah, so I always say to G, how's Vernon? He totally gets it. The same kind of question there, because it does feel a bit umph. Where do you point the finger?
I hold Darren Eales accountable, right? It's on the paper. It's what he signed up for. That's a sort of basic statement.
And can I just jump in as well, because you know Darren Eales a lot better than a lot of Newcastle fans because of the whole Atlanta situation.
I've shaken his hand a few times. That doesn't mean I know him. Let's be clear.
Well, even Steve's met him a couple of times, and you think Steve's a bit out there. But yeah, Darren. Why is it all Darren Eales then? Does Paul Mitchell need a little bit of blame there?
Of course, it goes around, but the accountability is with Darren. It's his job. He's part of hiring Mitchell, right, for all those pieces, and his input would be required, especially with a new hire. Now, Mitchell's experience, it looks
too soon.
Right?
It's too soon for him to feel.
It is. It's just that it can't be 100% him, right? That's usually not how the new hire situations work, in my experience professionally. Darren's accountable. Mitchell is responsible. Mitchell has responsibility, right, to deliver these players. Eddie has responsibility. I don't know what the ins and outs are, right? And I realize he is such a good manager of players, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's on the pitch all the time. But ultimately, the communication loop, Eddie has responsibility. The communication loop from Eddie to Mitchell, and just so he only got here a few months ago. I don't care, right? That's not relevant. We're about results around here, and ultimately, the person who is accountable for the performance of the club is Darren Eales, right? And that's how it works. Now, all these men have experience. I respect Darren Eales. I certainly respect Eddie. I don't know Mitchell, but he certainly reads well, and he looks like a man who has made things work, and I like that. So they're all better at their job than I would ever be. But nonetheless, from the outside, I can only back them, pull for them, try to explain to myself like what I'm even looking at. And all I really want is what's best for the club. Those of us who are longtime supporters, I mean, we have paid the price to be here, even though I don't live in Newcastle, lived and died on this team for so long. I just want to see us do well. And we've never been in a position like this before, in my opinion, to be so playing so well last year with so many great players. This is unlike anything I've experienced at Newcastle. I miss the entertainer years. And so I just asked the question as a supporter, person who dedicates a lot of their life to this. I just ultimately want to know why and how are we going to get better? Now, they're not going to tell me that, right? It doesn't really matter.
I was just about to come on. Are they going to do an interview and say, should they come up against that? But what about the PAF? Because the PAF are in the background, and it's alleged that Yasser's coming over for this weekend's game. And obviously, he wants to be number one. They don't want to be sitting around, next best team. You know what I mean? They're in it to win it. Yeah. So, thoughts on that?
My understanding is they don't tolerate failure, right, is my understanding of the PIF, right, which is with that much money, I can get behind that. It's not a good look, and nothing we're talking about here is things that they don't know. It's really how it comes through. There's the inside stuff that we'll never know. Even Darren, who had this amazing social media presence over here in Atlanta, it's different over there with y'all. It would be foolish for him to tell us the truth. But I do think that a degree of message beyond Eddie, and they can't just hang it all on Eddie out there, right? I don't know. I can only hope for the best. I will obviously support the club. I don't think this destroys our season, but it is more bad than good, right? And typically the immediate future looks a lot like the recent past, right? That is a thing. And I can only hope that we do well. Before, I had said last spring, like, we're going to kill it in the transfer window. I wanted a right wing, not a center back. And I was online on this channel saying, you watch, we're going to have a sparkling transfer window and we are going to be dangerous next year. Doesn't look like a sparkling transfer window, barring a miracle. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be dangerous. It doesn't destroy our season. But I would have put us in optimistically top 4. We're going to win the league, right? But now I'm down to 6 or 7.
That's what Hippie said earlier. I was about to ask
I
you
heard that, and I was spot on with that. And I don't know. Ask me again after the deadline.
Playing devil advocate, obviously, I'll put a few of the signings on screen, and it doesn't ask him. It's not like, wow, look at that. I think the Lloyd Kelly one's probably the best one because it's a free and he's a good squad player. I think he'll do well. Will Asula's one for the future. Vlach Dimas was done for political reasons, and I don't get the John Ruddy one. However, this squad, assuming that we don't have a ton of injuries, is still capable of getting a European position, no?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It just won't be free and clear, right? You know what I'm saying? And there are other clubs, Brighton, Villa, even West Ham, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they've got it going on, right? And frustratingly, they're getting good players and we're not, right? That frustrates me. And I don't like that. As for those players, no disrespect to them, but are we a better team than we were in the spring? Here's why. And his name is Sandro Tonali. Right? I'm just telling you, that's why we are a better team than we were in the spring, despite the loss of Anderson and others. And I don't like it. We should have been a much better team. But when our best players are playing well, we're just a tick better. And that's because Sandro undoes so much of the negatives that we've accumulated. I don't know. We'll see. I still look for us to be in Europe. I truly do. And also, if we don't spend now, we're going to spend in January, which means everybody else knows we're going to spend in January. So we're not going to get a good deal. But ultimately, all that matters in this business is results. We have to finish high enough in the table, and we have to do it under the limits set by the spending regulations now. And that's going to be harder than it ever was. But I don't give up. I don't think we're in bad shape. We've lost a march here on the rest of the league, right? We've lost a march.
Darren has already said that European football is the aim, and hopefully that doesn't come back a bite when we haven't spent the money. Only time will tell with obviously the season, but Newcastle don't spend. I think Jay is right. I think we've got to go and spend in January to push us on because you strengthen when you're at your best for me, not the other way around. But Jay, absolutely pleasure to catch up with you. Enjoyed that?
Enjoyed it as well too, Lee. Always a pleasure. Away the lads.
Yeah, we'll be back later on tonight to wrap it up. We've got Joe, so we'll try to bring someone positive because you know what Joe's like. And we've got Dave as well. They'll be coming on later on this evening to talk about the wrap up. We'll see. Fingers crossed we might get a loan through. I don't know. I'm being optimistic. Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
We'll see. Probably 1 or 2 outgoings. But there we go. Jay, thank you for coming on. We'll be back later on tonight, everyone. See you. Ta-da.
See you.